For our final topic of the day, with our introduction to spreadsheets, we're going to talk about formulas, or formulae, I suppose, if you want to be absolutely correct, I think. But a formula is just one of the three things you can put into a cell. You can have a label, such as money from home, September, some student budget for some guy named John Smith. Those are all labels. It's just text that means something to us humans looking at a spreadsheet, so we can tell which numbers go with September, which ones go with October, which ones are salary, which ones are tips. But it means nothing to the computer. The computer ignores those. That's just for the benefit of the humans. So we can have a label, we can have a number. All of these values that we saw originally that are now formatted as dollars and cents are numbers. The third thing we can have is a formula. We actually added two formulas previously. We added this one using the auto sum button and this one. Formulas always start with an equal sign. You can look up the formula bar and you can see there's a formula because it starts with an equal sign. And a formula is just a way of doing a calculation and showing the result of that calculation in that cell that has the formula. So this cell, B7, has the formula. Starts with equals. We'll get to what the sum function does later, but it adds up the cells B4 through B6, that range. Here's the range here. And it shows the result in whichever cell has that formula. Now, inside our formulas, we can use all of the normal calculations that you've used before, all the simple arithmetic operators. So, I'll just do a simple one. We start with equals. I'm just typing into a new cell, and I'm going to type a formula. So I'm going to say 6 plus 3. Well, I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is, but let's just double check. So when I hit enter, I'll see the result. And because my entire worksheet, we did this in an earlier session, entire worksheet is formatted to show dollars and cents, my 6 plus 3 is shown as dollars and cents as well. So it's showing up as $9.00. But of course that's the right answer, 6 plus 3. What if I subtract 2? I can make my formula longer. When you're writing out long formulas like this, don't put spaces in them. Spaces do weird things to Excel sometimes. It makes you skip around to different cells. Leave out the spaces. So 6 plus 3 minus 2. 7, just as you'd expect. What if I put in times 10? Now, 6 plus 3 minus 2 was 7. Times 10, you'd think, okay, the answer is going to be 70. So I hit enter and I say, it's minus, there's a tiny little minus sign, minus 11. I was expecting 70. What's wrong here? Well, Excel uses what's called the normal precedence of operators, or you may have learned in school as PEMDAS, or actually BEMDAS, PEMDAS, I'm going to call it. It's not, I didn't learn it this way, but I've learned that they sometimes teach it that way in the Yukon. But it stands for parentheses, exponentiation, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. And that's the order in which things are done, the order of operators in mathematical statements. So first do anything that's inside parentheses, then do any exponents, so something to the power of something else. Then do multiplication and division, then do addition and subtraction. So if we have PEMDAS here, we can make sense of why we got minus 11 and not 70. So let me look at my formula. So I'll click on the formula. Whenever you click on a formula cell, it will show it in the formula bar. And it says 6 plus 3 minus 2 times 10. So PEMDAS. I don't have parentheses, I don't have exponentiation, but I do have multiplication. So do that first. 2 times 10 is 20. Now, do the addition and subtraction. Okay, 6 plus 3 is 9, minus, not 2, but minus 20. 6 plus 3 is 9, minus 20 is minus 11, and there's the answer. So it does multiplication and division first, and then addition and subtraction, just as the way we're supposed to do it. So to be warned, Excel does the right thing, but it might be confusing if you're not used to that. It doesn't do them left to right, it does them in the order of the operators according to this rule here. Sometimes people say BEMDAS instead of parentheses. They use the word brackets. Same deal. Anything in parentheses do first. If I wanted to make it do all my addition and subtraction first, then I would edit my formula, and I just clicked on the formula bar to do that, and I'll put parentheses before the 6 and after the 2, and I will get my I will do all of what's in parentheses first, and then finally take that total, whatever that is, it's going to be 7 of course, and multiply it by 10. When I hit enter, sure enough, 70. So the parentheses override anything else. They're always the first thing to do. Now, by the way, I should mention now that of course we use plus and the minus, or the hyphen for the minus sign. We use the asterisk for multiplication, and for division, if I want to divide that by 10, instead of multiply it by 10, so this would be 0.7 instead of 70, I would use the slash. So the slash is the one under the question mark on the keyboard, and there's 0.7. So that formula there, add those, add 6 plus 3, subtract 2, whatever that total is, divide by 10, and show that as the result. So there's all my operators that I'm used to, the simple arithmetic operators, including parentheses as well. Now, what if, now that's interestingly enough, yes, you can use Excel instead of a calculator. In fact, a rule that we're going to establish soon is that if you're using Excel, you do not want to have a calculator anywhere in your midst, because Excel is the most powerful calculator you're ever going to run into. So, but what if I wanted to do some numbers, what if I wanted to do some math with numbers that are already appear on the screen? What if I wanted my total of September salary, tips, and money from home, and I wanted to put the result here? So I'll go to where I want the result to be, because that's where I'm going to put in my formula, and I'll say equals. Now you could type in 450 plus 622.75 plus 200, and that would give you the right number. If I hit enter, that's correct. 1,272 and 75 cents. If I did the math on those three cells, yes, I did the right thing, I think. Let's just, in case I typed everything right, I'll just make a quick selection. And I'll look down here. Yep, 12,702.75. So it'll give me a quick tip as to what my total is. But I don't want to do that, because I never want to retype in numbers that are already on the screen. I'll come back and harp on this point again and again, because if suddenly I remember, oh yeah, Mom didn't just send me $200, she sent me $250, I would expect the total down here to go up by 50, but it didn't, because the total down here is still calculating based on that 200. So I'll change that back to 200 anyway, just to go back to where I was. So this formula is very static. It's using numbers that I already see on my spreadsheet. I don't want to retype them. Instead, in formulas, what I want to do is use cell references. I want to refer to the cell that has the value that I want to use in my calculation. I do not want to retype the number. So if you're ever using a spreadsheet, first of all, throw out the calculator. Second, don't re-enter any number that you see on your spreadsheet. If it's not on your spreadsheet, you're going to have to type it in. But if it's on your spreadsheet, just uses what's called a cell reference. So I'm going to delete that formula. I'm just going to select cell C7 and hit delete. And I'm going to start over from scratch. I'm going to say equals. This time I'm not going to type in 450. I'm just going to click on cell C4. And it will fill it in. Remember, I looked up I gave a special name to set salary before, to cell C4, so it's going to use the name. That's fine. And I'll say plus. Now cell C5 doesn't have any special name. I just type in C5, lowercase or uppercase is fine. Notice the colors. Blue, set salary, is showing me which cell is set salary, which is the blue. C5 is green, it's showing me the green here, so that's where I can see which I'm using. And I can say plus, again, don't put any spaces into your formulas. And I can either type in C6, or I can just use the mouse and click on cell C6, which types it in for me. It puts it in capitals, but that's fine. Hit enter. I get the exact same result as I got before. There's my formula, SEP salary plus C5 plus C6. But notice it's 1272.75. If I change this from 200 to 250, it now recalculates automatically to the new total. It's using the values of these cells, and if any of those values change, so does the total. That's the power of a spreadsheet, the automatic recalculation. That's the what if business that we saw in the video earlier today. So we want to use those cell formulas. When we come back next class, we're going to really focus on formulas and work on them more. But here's just the basics of using a very simple formula, using cell references rather than values. And in fact, one of those cells happened to be named. I could have called it C4 in my formula as well. It would still work. But usually after you name a cell, you want to use your name. So I can change it to C4. Still does the same thing. Once I have my formula, if I click on it in the formula bar to edit it, it'll do the coloring business. So C4 is in blue, C5 is in green, C6 is in purple. So you can actually sort of make sense visually of your formulas and which cells are being referenced from where by just clicking on the formula bar once you've entered your formula. Now, one other thing that I should mention about formulas is normally you don't see them. Here in the spreadsheet, I have 3 cells that have formulas. Well, actually 4. I have this one. I just happen to know this one, this one, this one, and this one. A formula is a cell that begins with an equal sign. There's the equals right there. For this cell, there's the equals at the beginning. For this one, there's the equals. All the others are just numbers. So they were entered by hand. They couldn't be calculated. They had to be entered at some point. So those were entered by hand. That's fine. I'll live with that. That's the only way I can do it. But I can't really tell. I just happen to know that this was a formula and this was a number. How can I tell the difference? Well, there is, if you get confused, there is a way of seeing all the formulas at once in a worksheet, and that's by holding down the control key and hitting what's called the back tick or the back apostrophe. And the back tick is usually at the top left of your keyboard below the escape key and just above the tab key. At least it is on the keyboard I'm sitting in front of. So if I hold control, it's got a little squiggle above it. If I hold down control and hit that key below the escape key, it'll automatically expand my worksheet to show me all the places I have formulas. It won't show me the actual result of the formula, but it will show me the formulas. There's one there, there's one there, and there's one there. And to undo it, it's just a toggle, hit it again. Control and the back tick. That little key at the top left of the keyboard under the escape key and above the tab. So that's a quick way of just seeing all of your formulas at once. Next class, we're going to really go to town on these formulas. We're going to take this spreadsheet, so you can save it on your desktop. As it exists now, it doesn't have a lot yet. We've just sort of gone through some of the introductory material. But when we come back next Friday, we're really going to work on this spreadsheet. We're going to continue where we left off. I'll also make a copy of it available on our website of where we left off right now. Maybe I'll just get rid of what's in column F. So I'll right-click, delete, wipe out column F, and I'll save, and we'll come back to this worksheet next time, and it'll be available for us to continue working with these formulas, because these formulas plus all the other things we saw today are really what we're going to focus on spreadsheets. That's the power of them. So until then, we'll wrap things up now. I hope this worked. I hope you saw all of this. And I'll see you in person for a much more interactive session next week. But there's no assignment due next week, but I will be handing one out. So until then, have a good weekend. See you later.